I'm gonna give you maybe 5 or so minutes, less. When you're ready, just look up at me to complete the rest of the chart with your team table. So remember some of our discussion rules that are posted about how we talk to our classmates. And I'll give you just maybe 4 or 5 minutes, okay, to discuss your answers. This is exciting. We're making a democracy. Not a democracy. It's really a republic.
Oh gosh, I'll be hard table.
Accountability gets us to behave.
Oh,
So, Federalists, they want a strong central government, weak central government.
strong.
Strong. So, the anti-federalists would want,
Weak.
well, would they really want a weak federal government
Or a lack of one. No,
Less power.
less powerful? Okay, what do you think the Federalists thought of the Bill of Rights? The creation of the Bill of Rights. Because what did the Bill of Rights do?
Guidelines?
Free speech.
They were guidelines, but they were a recognition that something was missing from the Constitution, so we needed to amend it. So we're talking about freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, right to bear arms, no search and seizure.
So almost in
You
a
don't
way,
have to
it took
order-
away some power and gave some of the rights back to the people. In a way.
Well, did it?
Eh.
Well, I mean, none of these rights were enumerated before the Bill of
Like a
Rights.
safety net?
Well, so the Bill of Rights specifically identified these rights belong to the people. So that's saying here's an amount of power that the government does not have. So do you think that the Federalists would agree with that, or would that be more of an anti-Federalist perspective?
Federalists think we don't need it.
That we wouldn't need the Bill of Rights? Okay. So the Federalists would have been opposed to the creation of it, kind of. Okay.
Yeah. And then the anti-federalists would think it was necessary.
Hi, team.
I'm Miss Cole.
How are we doing?
Mrs. Cole. Right?
Mrs.
Okay.
You can just call me President Cole.
We haven't
Are you
gone-
the chosen
We haven't
one?
gone to fisticuffs yet, but I'm sure those are coming.
Okay, we disagree on some of these?
I don't know enough about
No, I'm just
history
being
and
difficult.
government to really give much input, honestly.
So the status of the Articles of Confederation. Well, is the question, do they still exist? Are they superseded by the Constitution? Or
That's a good first question. I like that. What do you think? Do they?
I would tend to think that once you pick a new form of government, that you've said we're not using the old one anymore.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Okay. What do you ladies think?
This isn't my subject.
It's everybody's subject.
No, nothing is ever new.
Coming up
This
next week.
is
I don't
Totally
have so much
new.
knowledge to have a...
Look at what we did. Look at how big that is. Athens.
No,
Athens.
I get it, and I respect it. I just don't know enough about it currently in this given moment to know what the
So
hell
what
I'm talking
your guess is, what would let's take a guess, because we're going to discuss after, so use an educated guess. Do you think the Federalists would prefer to keep it? The Articles of Confederation, that's what we're on, or no?
Well, I would say that the Federalists would probably want to get rid of it because it is such a loosey-goosey.
Let's go with that.
Okay, so,
Sure,
so the Federalists would.
I would believe anything.
The Federalists would have wanted to replace it.
With something stronger.
Yeah, with something
If you
stronger.
finish this activity, look at my face. They're not finished, I think. I'm going to throw one more glitch.
And so the anti-Federalists wanted.
On our learning target, we're trying to compare, contrast, and contrast. Look at your chart. If you feel like you are heavily doing one or the other, which would be contrasting probably, I want you to think as a team how we can talk about the comparing Federalists and Anti-Federalists. Just try to think of whatever you can come up with. At the bottom of the chart. Sorry, extra work.
They all know they don't want to be under that guy right there. They all don't want.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the size of the nation versus the size of government, they did. I mean, that's how the houses of Congress are devised, in that the House of Representatives recognize that bigger states have more population. They should have a little more say in what happens because they have more people, they have more votes. They're probably paying the bulk of the taxes versus the smaller states, but the smaller states were like, yeah, but we're still a state. We shouldn't just be able to run roughshod on us. So I would say that was one area where they kind of agreed. You know.
That like the population dictates how many votes they get?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Right, because that's how the House of Representatives was developed.
Okay.
Was you had representation based on population, whereas the Senate, every state gets 2 votes.
Okay.
So that's kind
They
of.
both want representation.
They both want representation.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. Okay, let's take 1 more minute, 60 seconds.
Anything else? Oh, they're both racist.
Coming from.
Sorry, I just heard Aaron. They're both racist. Let's write that one down.
Oh.
That is something I do know about.
Oh, good lord.
I just.
It's going to be part of that. Well, there are no people of color or women involved, so let's just chuck it all out.
Oh, they're sexist too. There you go.
Yeah, so clearly they got everything
Aaron?
wrong.
Yes, with the neat handwriting, will you be our official
What's that?
scribe today? So let's come back together, and I am so excited. I'm fascinated to see what we come up with for our chart. I'm going to let you guys work together as a class and kind of popcorn some ideas out. Aaron is going to be our scribe for our chart. So let's start with the beginning. Power of central government versus states' power. What do we have to say about the Federalists on this one?
They were in favor of more power to the central government.
Anyone else agree? You look
Yes,
like
I
you don't
agree.
agree.
I look like I have no idea anything about
Okay.
history.
Okay. You just look confused. Well, let's write it on our paper. It will help us remember. So in favor, everyone agree?
Yes.
And Auntie's in favor of more power to the states.
Parenting is just so beautiful.
Okay.
Right?
So what about the creation of the Bill of Rights? Can someone give me an example? I was asking my group of ladies in the back. The Bill of Rights. So some of the, what would be an example? Is it like I have the right that my parents pay for my cell phone? I have the right to post on social media? What are some of the Bill of Rights? What are a couple of the rights?
Freedom of speech.
Okay, freedom of speech. It's just a refresher. Anyone?
Second Amendment.
This is one we heard a lot
Bear
about
arms.
recently. The
Guns
Second
to bear
Amendment.
arms.
Remember the right to bear arms, the Second Amendment, guns, basically. Sorry.
Guns.
And
the
a
militia.
well-regulated militia.
Okay, good, perfect. Okay, great. So what are the Federalists? How did they feel about creating a Bill of Rights? What was their,
They thought it was unnecessary
okay, why?
because they viewed those rights as being inerrant in a sense.
Wait, am I here or here?
Federalist, no, you're right.
Okay. That's not reassuring to me at this moment. Okay. Woo! Okay. Keep going.
Sorry, not needed because
They were like guaranteed rights.
The Federalists
They thought that
Should we say common sense?
they were inherently guaranteed. There didn't need anybody to enforce those rights.
Okay.
But the anti-federalists were like, yeah,
We want to specifically
I want them written on paper with signatures.
It
That those
feels like
rights
the
will be given.
anti-federalists are sort of distrustful a little, doesn't it?
Very
A
much
little,
so.
a little of a doubting Thomas over there, the anti-federalists. Because they wanted them clearly written down, 10 things that would not be changed or taken away. Any other thoughts about that, the Bill of Rights?
I thought that maybe it could have been a compromise, like they didn't want the Constitution, right? They wanted to keep the Articles of Confederation, but maybe this Bill of Rights was a way to kind of bring it maybe back to the Articles or something, like it's a change that they could have had a hand in to be like, whoa, you guys went too far that way, like bring it back this way. But I don't know if that's what actually happened or not.
What do we think?
I think I agree with Madison.
Okay, so we have one in agreement. Who would vote for Yitten?
I don't remember enough about
I don't remember.
differences between the Bill of Rights and the Articles.
Let's vote, let's just take a vote, and then if we vote against it, we're gonna take away the Bill of Rights. Who votes with Madison? It's a compromise, we're looking at the compare element here. Yes, thumbs up? Anybody wanna vote thumbs down that they don't think? Okay, good, thanks Madison. I would agree, I think that would fall probably under a bit of a compare. It's a compromise they've both agreed to in order to move the process along. Thanks. Okay, what about the last one? Status of the Articles of Confederation.
The Federalists didn't like the Articles of Confederation.
We're lucky to have another young lady endorsing
Why?
history major.
Because it was there wasn't enough enforcement. There was zero enforcement. The states didn't have to pay taxes, as Mr. Slate said. The central government asked for it, and the states would just say no. So they had no money.
So they
couldn't
both
form an army.
wanted enforcement. They both want responsiveness, right? So they weren't getting it from the Articles of Confederation, is that what you're saying?
Correct. Well, and the Federalists wanted like a united nation, and the Anti-Federalists didn't really view. They viewed that they lived in South Carolina, not the United States. Federalists would say first United States, then their state.
So they'd say first they were a citizen of the U.S. and second they were a citizen of their state, and the Anti-Federalists would say first they were a citizen of their state and second they were a citizen of the U.S.
Like Texans.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. This is again echoing throughout history, even today. Some people feel very attached to their state, and in other areas, in France, for example, people feel like very attached to their region. So these are things that repetitively kind of echo throughout history, which takes us to our essential question. It's great. Any other thoughts about that? So is this a point, are we also going to compare status of the Articles of Confederation? Is that a point where they kind of came together to compromise, we think? Voting yes?
Had to some extent.
I think in the beginning they were so desperate that they were really searching for something. But after they got the independence, they were like, there's no fear involved now. Now we can do it.
Okay. Any other thoughts about that point, those points?
What happened to the two parties? How did they go away?
They didn't really. Our political system is funny. In the South, you used to say like a yellow dog Democrat. Do you guys know that? In the South, you would vote for a yellow dog if it was a Democrat. Like it didn't matter to them who the candidate was. So these have kind of developed into the current political parties. But our current political parties have also flipped. Because as you know now,
Lincoln was
in the South, we'd mostly go normally Republican.
FDR.
So yeah, switched around. It's funny, and we will talk about that a little bit later when we study our political party system and how that's changed. It's great. Thank you, Erin. We appreciate you. Okay, so just a couple of minutes, I think I